Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Tuesday. Yes, indeed, we normally record on a Monday, but because the Derby lunch was yesterday, we are recording today on the week that is BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby week. We are looking forward to the final of the Derby on Saturday night. We've two semi-finals to look back at. We're going to look back at the Derby plate, and of course, we will be mentioning whatever happened around the country over the last few days as well. I'm joined as always by the exiled dub, Tommy Lyons, and Sarah Kinsella. Seems I'm doing a lot of work with you at the moment, Sarah. Here you are
Yeah,
again. Going to talk about what promises to be a hugely competitive final.
yeah, it's going to be epic, isn't it? The lunch yesterday was brilliant. Like, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole Derby is the Derby lunch. And when you're talking to all the connections and you get they're all nervous and anticipating what's going to happen. Nobody would have predicted these six finalists, which is obviously very impossible to do anyway. But to be honest, I wouldn't have predicted any of the finalists in. So it's one of those derbies, and everyone has a different prediction. We were all sitting around a table yesterday, and we were all given a different dog. There was five of us talking, and the five of us gave a different dog in the final. So it's wide open. Even 365 at her massive odds of 33-1, she can still win this derby. And that's what you want. It's wide open, it's fascinating, it's exciting, and there's a different story attached to every dog in the final. 125,000 to the winner. I can't wait to see who gets it on Saturday.
Yeah, Tommy, it's not the final we expected, no question about that. And as a result, there's not going to be a red hot favourite. There will be a warmish favourite, but this is one of those finals where you could realistically make claims for each of the six. Yes, 365 is 33-1, but just the way she finishes, any sort of traffic up front, and she could be there to pounce.
I fancy a greyhound out of the park in the final, a dog I didn't think could possibly win the derby early in the competition. I fancy one really strongly. I think the prices are all over the place.
Yeah.
Competitive race, and it's a cracking final, and there's going to be a little bit of luck needed here and there, but it's fiercely competitive. But I do fancy one very strongly. We'll get on to that after a few minutes, I think.
I'm sure we will. We might have to give a derby prediction at some point. Let's take a look back at the semi-finals. We'll start with you, Tommy. The opening heat, we saw Music glide away. He's found his trapping boots, and that's dangerous to all his rivals. He went up well into the quarterfinals, just failed to get around well met. But the other evening, he had no such worries because he flashed from boxes, led into the opening corner off at 3:43, 17:06 to the third bend, wins in 29:32. Bob Shanahan was there yesterday, absolutely delighted with himself. Pat Guilfoyle has another Derby finalist.
Yeah, look, Pat's a brilliant operator. I think we know that from for years now. At this stage, we don't have to talk about it. This dog is it's kind of again, it would be one of the ones I wouldn't have fancied earlier in the competition. I wouldn't have thought had much chance even get to a final. We talked about it before the Derby, how he stepped up to 5.75 to kind of get a bit of confidence. Had only won one heat until the semi-finals, and then decided to produce the best display. It was a fair performance. Like we knew, we know we had him down more as a stayer, even though we were talking about getting out on 5.75, getting on the bunny, and kind of just building a bit of confidence. Over 5.50, he's seldom able to, or to this point, he's seldom been able to actually lead. So this was a big step in the right direction, and there was no fluke about it. I mean, there was a kind of a hint out of the previous week, and it was just a really good display. You had Well Met, who had early pace in the race. I didn't think it was a race packed with early pace, and when Trinity Junior missed a kick completely, it changed the complexion of the race entirely. And the trouble he got then was just because he had missed it. It wasn't like he didn't get knocked out because a dog came across him or whatever else. He got knocked out of the competition because he missed the kick completely. It's unfortunate because he had been in such good form. But Music Glideway just did it all right. And of course, when the beauty of it is when you're a wide seed, you're likely to be the only wide seed in the Derby final. So
Yeah.
he gets this he gets now he's been a bit unlucky in the final. We'll be talking about that later on. Been a bit unlucky that Bacchus Crystal's in five. I mean, that's possibly that is in fact the worst draw he could have had, having Bacchus Crystal closest to him.
Yeah, if any of the other four had been drawn in five, he'd have been better off. But that said, she's not going to step into his road. It's just the fact that she can go up strongly,
No,
and
but
she'll go up straighter from five than perhaps any of the others that would have could potentially have been drawn there.
she could, and even though he did a 3:43 the other day, even if she misses slightly, she has the pace to lead him into the bend regardless. It's going to cost him at least a length. And will that be enough to prevent him winning the Derby? I don't know, but it's going to cost him something, having to find a way around Bacchus Crystal.
Yeah, that's if he can find a way around her. The
Yeah.
key to him, Tommy, is he does actually have loads of early speed, but his trapping has been his issue all the time. I suppose that's why they put him over the 5.75 because he wasn't trapping, but he can pace up. And in those 5.75s, the last 40 or 50 yards into the corner, he was absolutely devouring the ground. And I suppose that's the key. The fact now that he is trapping in terms, it's allowing him to get up to full speed.
Yeah, it's like it's just clever training to do what they did with him, to switch him to the longer trip and just give him that long look at the long run to the bend and just see that, hey, you know what you can do. You can get around in front here. That hasn't happened. It hadn't happened in the Derby to this point, but like, he came out on a beautiful line. He kind of stayed out at the trap 6 line until probably the finishing line the first time. Then started to edge in a little bit, not much, but drove a good bend and everything. It was a really polished display now from a greyhound who you wouldn't have said had been a polished greyhound prior to that.
Yeah, Sarah, he was very reminiscent of a sire on Saturday night. New Win Taylor. He won a Derby from trap 6. He goes up strongly on the outside, keeps a lovely line, and cuts a nice bend. You know, who's to say that Music Lightaway can't repeat what his sire did only a few years ago?
Yeah, he can easily, and a lot of people are tipping him. A lot of people are fancying him, and that was the other discussion we had yesterday. A lot of people were struggling at what price they would make him in the final. But everyone kind of agreed around the 3 to 4 mark, like 3 to 1, 4 to 1. You can't go much higher than that on Music Lightaway. He's got a tremendous chance. If you look at his sectionals, he's improved week after week. The first round was a 359, 354, 351, and now a 343. So he's getting faster as the weeks go by. He's getting stronger. I think he only started racing in February, so we haven't actually seen a whole lot of him, to be honest. He's ran in Limerick and different places, and the RCETS final, the €4,000 final that he won in Shelburne over 5.75. The clocks are there again, 31.04, 31.18, and then 31 seconds in the final. So he's had perfect preparation for the Derby. He's not over raced, and he's just coming to himself at the perfect time. And what other better man to have him than Patrick Kilfoyle, because he knows what it takes to win a Derby. He's a tremendous trainer with these dogs to have him primed at that perfect time. So I was very impressed with his performance on Saturday. We did anticipate when we were chatting last week that if he breaks like he did in the quarters, he's an epic chance, but I don't think any of us predicted him to break that well and to win that easy. He won by 4 lengths to a dog that's very hard to pass in Well Met. Now, when I seen them going down the back straight, I always knew Well Met wouldn't pass them. You can't pass a dog like Music Lightaway. In saying that, we all think that Ben's Teddy is probably the only one in the final that could pick up any of these dogs. But in saying that, Music Lightaway, if he gets his head in front, I just think, you know, and another thing we touched on yesterday, I don't know if anyone has seen the interviews from the lunch, but Well Met is jealous in all the right ways. And if he gets his head in front, if something comes near him, as John said, there ain't nothing going to pass me. I'm not letting you. And you could argue that they're all going to be like that. So that's what makes this such a fascinating final. But you have to mention 365 and that performance. Like, I think she was always going to qualify. She was in a very good position for most of the race. Trinity Jr., when he missed the kick, it was all over. He's not going to come from behind.
Clonruth Sydney made sure of that. Yeah. He dived straight in from trap 5, as he was always going to. Trinity Jr. had to get out to avoid him. And the said for 7 Beach, who was perhaps going to edge off. As you said, Well Met went around second. He didn't quite get the start he has been getting, but he was still a good second throughout. It ran well. He's now in a Derby final in trap 1, where they'll want to be, of course. And you mentioned a 365. I was talking to Scott and Kiri yesterday, and at no point in the contest were there many concerns for them. From the second bend, it was clear she was going to qualify, and dream come true for them.
Oh, it is. It's massive. And we were doing the Vox Pops on Saturday night when we were going around, just general people in the stand and trainers, owners, saying, who do you think will win the final? And the amount of people that picked 365 just to even get to the final. Everyone wants to see Scott Phelan there. And the fact that, you know, he was so cool and calm and collected yesterday, and I don't know if you got that from him as well, like, he hasn't done this type of thing before, and he just went up there, not a bother on him. He's just enjoying every moment, taking it all in, because, as I said to people, this is, for most people in this life, this is only going to happen to you once, if you're even lucky enough for it to happen to you once. So savor every moment, enjoy it all. Even if you finish stone last, it doesn't matter. You made the final. It's what everyone dreams of. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to have her in there. And again, to have 2 bitches in there as well is pretty awesome. But as well, if you look back at the replay, Well Met and Music Lightaway, it was like there was no other dogs in the race, because the 2 of them broke. That's one of the best breaks I think I've actually seen him in the Derby. And I know, like, look, there was just the Music Lightaway just got that, he had that more early going into the bend. But when you take out the rest of them, the two of them were superior into that first bend. They really were. So a cracking race, a cracking way to open up the semi-finals of the Derby. Even though everyone was saying the second heat was much better, I'd have to argue that the first semi-final was much better.
Yeah, Tommy, well met in 365. Well met. We know what he's about. 365, I suppose it was a real bonus for them to see her turning as close. And I suppose she certainly deserves her place in the final. She's been tiptoeing through this competition, and as they said the other day, she's absolutely relishing. She's just so happy and content in herself. And I said that's why she's gone this far. You know, you never get to this point in the Derby where dogs are getting through that are starting to feel it. Like they're all sort of enjoying the test and coming back week and week and running the same trip.
Yeah, and her limitations are exposed, but at the same time, I did fancy her to qualify for the final, based on the draw. And when she broke third and turned third, she probably should have finished better than third. If that's that, my reading of it, watching it last week when I was watching it live, I was going, she probably should she should probably finish second from here, and she didn't. It's still a great run. I mean, God, she's been so well handled to get this far and to be in such good form. She has a terrible draw in the final, and she's going to struggle to get competitive in any way. But geez, I'd love to have a Derby. I'd love to have a Derby finalist as well. You know, she does deserve her place in it. But she's probably no danger to any of them in the sense of she's not going to get in the way at any stage of the race. You would imagine the way her style of racing. And she's quite an honest bitch in the sense that she's not going to be diving left or diving right, doing anything kind of silly that's going to kind of impact it. I don't know. I think she's just been. It's actually funny. We noticed over the last couple of years it often happens to with bitches or dogs that have the form over longer trips. They can, through a 6-round competition, you need that strength and you need an honesty. You need a type of dog that really wants it, is really trying its best. They do advance to the final of the Derby, so she's deserving to be in there. She's going to struggle in the final, as far as I can see. But
it's what they call a free shot.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's a good way of putting it, because I mean I can't build any case whatsoever for her. But I'm glad she's there, and I did think she would get into the final.
Yeah. To build a case for her, you have to use the term traffic, and none of us want that. You know what I mean? We want a clean run race, but there is a way for her to get involved. But again, she's going to need help, no question about it. So we have our first three finalists. Music Glide Away bombed away 4 lengths, 29.32. Well met in second, and just narrowly back in third was 3.65. She was just a half length behind Well Met in third. Again, sad to see the likes of Trinity Junior, Seven Beach, and Clonruth Sydney going out. Clonruth Sydney had been so good through the competition, so strong. The power he was showing from the second bend was really eye-catching on more than one occasion. But a trap 5 draw, we sort of knew. We knew it was going to be a struggle, Trinity Junior, again, it just didn't happen for him. Missed the kick, and all of a sudden the doors closed. And Seven Beach just never quite got the start through the competition that we've seen from him before. I have no doubt, being a September whelp, we'll be seeing him again in the very near future, perhaps on Friday night in the Juvenile Derby. But he is a greyhound to keep an eye on in the future. On now to the second semi-final of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby, and this one went to the other Kobe. The second spot was Ben's Teddy, and back in third, Bocco's Crystal. Sarah, the other Kobe, bidding to emulate his brother from last year, Born Warrior. We are asking the question, has any dog done it before? Well, it's never been done that comrades have won the Derby 1 year after the next. It could potentially have happened in the late 90s, but it didn't. Tina Marina won it in 96. Her brother, Spire Nikita, got to the final the following year and was strongly fancied, or was one of the strong fancies, but it just didn't happen for him in the final. That's basically the closest they've got in terms of comrades winning the Derby, certainly in the last 30 or 40 years. You'd be probably a bit too young to remember Tina Marina and Spire Nikita.
Yeah, thankfully I'm too young. Yeah, we were only talking about that something yesterday, and I was like, you were talking about the 1987 Derby, and I was like, I wasn't even born. I'm making you feel old now. Well, look, sure, it's catching up with all of us, isn't it? The other Kobe was I was going to say sensational, but he wasn't sensational. He was very, very good. The time, we spoke about this again yesterday. He looked like he got a clear run, and you're wondering 29.15 the week previous and 29.58 in the semi-final, getting a clear run. So look, you can look at that anyway, but at the end of the day, do times really matter? You're in the Derby final. If he wins and he's doing 29.70, who cares? The clock doesn't matter. But it's just something worth flagging, I think, and worth kind of considering when you're making him. Like, he's the 2-1 favourite to win it. He was very good. Ben's Teddy, the pace. I think I only kind of realised, look, I've liked the dog throughout the whole thing, even when he was running in Limerick and stuff, but he really, really caught my eye for the first time really in this derby, the way he finished so strong. And Buckles Crystal as well. Like, I think she deserves to be there because she's been running with the best for most of her career. And she's probably the most experienced runner in the derby. The rest of them are relatively, I'd say she probably has the most races on all of them in this. So I'm glad to see her there. I don't know if she can win it, but anyway, we'll touch on that in a bit. Yeah, like 5-1 Kobe. I can't understand how he was that price. He seemed to drift. And when I came home, I was watching RPG TV and the replay. His price was drifting. And the performance that he gave, you're thinking, well, I don't know what else was being backed in the racing, and maybe you know more than I do, but I don't know. I can't understand how he was the price he was. It was tremendous. And the lads came on the podium for the presentation and they all backed him. I was delighted for them because I was slagging. I was like, I hope you didn't back them at BoyleSports, you know, having a good laugh with them. And sure, like, they're just ecstatic. Like you're standing there going, my God, I'm in the Derby final. Like, do you know what I mean? I'd say it takes a while for it to hit in, but I'm very shocked, as I said to you afterwards when we were talking upstairs. I am shocked to see Coulivanny Hoffa and the Laddie Da go out like everybody else. The top two in the betting for Coulivanny Hoffa was the anti-post favourite for weeks and months in advance. And the fact that he got knocked out, and the Laddie Da as well, a lot of people were banking on him to make the final. So yeah, it was a queer result, but also a brilliant result. You know, like the three that are through deserve to be there.
Yeah, Tommy, this was a race that was very much the sort of taking shape at boxes. The two favourites completely missed the kick, and it just didn't happen for them. The Laddie Da was sort of just edged off the fence into the back straight and sort of checked across the back of Buckles Crystal. That cost him momentum and he got further traffic at the third bend. Coulivanny Hoffa showed loads of pace down the back straight, but he'd missed the kick and just couldn't quite get involved. We didn't probably see the best of Coulivanny Hoffa through this derby. The Laddie Da is certainly one for the future. He's only in October. Well, we'll see plenty more of him. I hope he turns up in the Juvenile Derby. I don't know if he's getting an entry. I think that was still up in the air, speaking to the owners on Saturday night after racing. But as regards what happened on the track out front, the other Kobe again was, you know, pretty sharp at boxes, got to the front early, had to contain Buckles Crystal into the corner once doing so. He was always in the driving seat. We know exactly how strong and how powerful Ben's Teddy is, how unlucky he was in the Kirby earlier in the year. It's great to see him getting through. He's the one that we'll all be looking back through the field to see where he is off the second bend of the final.
Yeah, look, it wasn't unpredictable. I think we talked about it last week. Like the other Kobe came away racing last week, came away racing again in the semi-final. Whereas the Laddie Da isn't the dog that kind of comes away. He breaks well, but accelerates. And if you come away racing like the other Kobe, who would be more professional and more seasoned than the Laddie Da, then there's a chance that you're going to do what he did, exactly what he did on Saturday night. A bit like Sarah said that the other Kobe was very good, not sensational. I think that's right. Didn't catch my eye in the same way as he did in the previous round. I don't think this was a performance at the same level at all, personally. And I don't know what to make of that going into the final. Whether I'd expect something similar to that, which probably won't be good enough, or do I expect something from the quarterfinals, which would be good enough? It's difficult to know. Ben's Teddy ran a superb race, but for the third bend, he would have won maybe 2-3 lengths. His finishing sections are absolutely off the charts. Buckles Crystal, again, is not quite getting home at the moment, but she's strengthening up. She's getting a little bit closer to the line every time and makes her a danger in the final. Coulivanny Hoffa ran a remarkable race. My God, the pace of that greyhound is just a joy to watch. Like, last out, to get into third place in that level of competition, in that heat, it was just a remarkable display of pace. I mean, it's actually a shame that he's not in the Derby final, because he's an amazing greyhound. Now, it would have been a phenomenal performance. Your problem, a phenomenal training performance. Your problem with the campaign that he had is that you're putting all your eggs into one basket, and you're kind of also, they're not maybe hardened from racing again because they haven't raced for a while, and any little knock can leave a little bit of a mark, and then it's hard to recover in that. If you're not used to getting those knocks, it's hard to recover from the knocks very quickly, you know, especially when the level of competition is what it is at the moment. Like, I think, like, he's a dog that's not going to win a Derby now, but he is one of the fastest greyhounds I've ever seen. When he's in full flow, he's phenomenal. The Laddie Da has a future. he needs to learn to break naturally, to stride out of traps rather than just break and accelerate, because actually he put himself in a position to qualify with his pace. And then Buckles Crystal didn't come in on him, but he does always like a little bit of room off the second bend. He runs the first bend, two bends very well, but then he likes a little bit of room, a little bit of move off the second bend, and he just checked at that point, and that left him in a whole heap of trouble because Ben's Teddy was up inside him, basically going to the third bend or up beside him, the third bend. You're not going to hold Ben's Teddy coming home, so his race was run by the second bend. Rahamofo just didn't happen first. She hadn't been in the same form in the last couple of weeks as we saw her in Tralee and in Dundalk. She's been a terrific bitch. They'd be disappointed she's not in Derby final, but she's just a smashing bitch. But it wasn't unpredictable the way it worked out. Disappointing for the Laddie Da and Kulavani Hoffa, but I mean, three great greyhounds had to go out of the house, out in the Derby at that heat anyway. So yeah. I mean, look at the draw.
It was three great greyhounds that went out. We'll speak about them individually. Kulavani Hoffa doing a Gord Kelly Nester on it. Fourth in two Derby semi-finals year after year. Not where you want to be finishing. My heart breaks for them. He's an exceptionally fast greyhound, no question about it. But just towards the back end of his Derby campaign, it just really wasn't happening for him. He just never got the start we saw last year. Last year he did sub 17 seconds 3 or 4 times. This year he never even got really close. I think did he do a 17:01 maybe one night? That's as quick as he went through the Derby. The Laddie Da, as we said, Tommy, I think you touched upon it there. Just the natural boxing, the natural trapping, that still has to come. There's no question he's a massively talented young greyhound. I think he's a bit of a star. And Rahamofo, in what was her last race, she is to be retired. Marissa rang me yesterday, so I'll be writing something either this morning. So check dogs. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it'll be tomorrow morning. Rahamofo has ridden her last, or has raced her last race, shall we say? She was a joy to watch. From the very start, Tommy. We've had quite a journey with her from the first round of the Oaks last year, where we sort of had a little bit of a debate on whether she could win it or not. And of course, I think I came out on top of that argument. Bitch of the year, what a star she's been. Listen, a very happy retirement to her. I'm sure they cannot wait for her to break, because she has all the attributes to be a super dam as well, a super brood. So the best of luck to her. But the three that went through, the other Kobe, bidding to emulate his brother Born Warrior by going on to land the Derby for Jennifer O'Donnell, Brian Clare and David Lestrange. For Ben's Teddy, obviously the very, very powerful Ben's Teddy, owned by Kim Pritchard, also owned by Spike Murphy down in Limerick. Aidan Walsh is involved as well. No, Aidan's a part owner of the other Kobe, Spike is a member of the Ben's Teddy team, along with Willem and his brother. The two Burns own another part of Ben's Teddy. Nephews of Patsy Byrne, believe it or not. So it's a rich history in greyhound racing, and the very best of luck to the three of them in the Derby final. And there we have it. We had the 6 dogs in the Derby final, and we were left with the trap draw to look forward to. It happened about 15-20 minutes after the second heat, and it has turned out would 1 Well Met, 2 the other Kobe, 3 Ben's Teddy, 4 365, 5 Buckles Crystal, and 6 Music Glide Away. Take it away, Sarah. What wins the Derby? Talk us through the race.
God. Okay, so I always think it's bad luck to change your mind. And when I pulled this dog out of the draw, straight away I said he's going to win the Derby, and that is Trap 1, Well Met, John Jones. Not his first Derby finalist. We all know the story about our surprise, and that was devastating for them. But this is now he gets to enjoy the full experience of having his first Derby runner. Looking forward to the week ahead. I think he's a brilliant price at 7-2. If he breaks like he did in the semi-final, I think he'll win. I think what Tommy touched on earlier on with Buckles Crystal's probably not the best one to be beside Music Glide Away, and that's one of the reasons why I'm siding with Trap 1 as well. If it was any other dog, they'd move in a little bit and he'd have more room to race. Now, in saying that, I think we also discussed this yesterday about the other Kobe. He'll come out, if he comes out as well as he can, I think he will actually have more pace than Well Met going into that first bend, and he'll cut his nose off. Now, that's if that happens. We all know he's not the most consistent at the traps. We've touched on his sectionals before. if Well Met produces his best because he's consistent and gets around the rails on the inside, I think he'll win the Derby. Now, I am apprehensive if Ben's Teddy gets any sort of a run on him, because I wouldn't be 100% confident. As hard and all as Well Met is to pass, I think the only one that could possibly do it with ease would be Ben's Teddy. 365, as you mentioned, it is hard to make a case for her. You'd need a bit of traffic problems. She'll come home like a train. Wouldn't be surprised if she grabs second, to be honest. Marco's Crystal is a little too far out for me, but she has the class. And usually in these cases, the cream always rises to the top, and the best dog will always win the Derby. She is one of the best, probably the most classiest runner in the race, you could argue, for what she has done in the past. But I don't think she's a Derby winner based on her trap jaw. And the main danger then is obviously Music Lightaway. If she does stay her line and he stays his line, he gets a clear run up on the outside. If he gets in front, I don't care who you are, you're not going to pass him. So you can make a case for every single runner, but the way I'm seeing it is, one is just going to break well, get a lovely run on the inside, and the rest of them are going to have a schmozzle at the bend, and 365 will run on strong to get second with Ben's Teddy in third.
There we are now, Ted, as easy as that. What do you think, Tom?
I don't fancy Well Met at all. Those just were nice to wear opposing views. I think it should be twice the price it is, 7-2. I can't have it. I couldn't have it at 7-1. I personally wouldn't back it at tens. It's got a terrible draw with the other Kobe in 2. I don't know that it can clear it. At best case, I think that there'll be a bit of a bump in between the pair. At best case for Well Met, at best case for the other Kobe, he can pop out and stride out and lead. I just wasn't as impressed with the other Kobe the other night as I was in the quarterfinals. I'd have a lot of time for Jennifer O'Donnell as a trainer, what she's done last year, what she's done with this greyhound this year. He obviously has a chance. He's not a 6-4 chance or a 2-1 chance. He's a 5-2 chance. He should be. It's a much more wide open Derby final than the betting is suggesting. 365 is a real struggle to make a case for Bacchus. Crystal has a chance. He's improving all the time, but needs to fly. I just think she can get in the way of Music Lightaway. The one I'd be afraid of is Music Lightaway if he broke. If he managed to get around Bacchus Crystal, was a real tough ask to do that. I just fancy Ben's Teddy is absolutely monstrous price. They're going 5-1, and he's about an 11-4, 5-2 chance. He should be at worst case, he should be second favourite. Worst case, and I can see him going off favourite. I could see him going off favourite in the final. I think they're going to have to push the other Kobe to lay it. They're definitely going to have to push Well Met to lay it. They can't lay 365, and they can. The other two will be back to some degree 5 and 6. But Ben's Teddy, his sections are phenomenal. If Well Met and the other Kobe happen to both break well, they're gonna give him a lovely little chance to get around the slipstream. If he can't lead 365, he has no business in the Derby final. He's going to lead 365, sit in a lovely position, and it's a matter of whether he gets a run to third bend. If he got it the other night, I'm convinced he'd have won 3 or 4 lengths and would have done the 29-30 that was the other heat was won in. I would have given him no chance of winning the Derby at the start because of the need for luck. But when you get to a Derby final, it's just one race now, and it's trying to decipher what will happen in the race. Music Lightaway is the one I'd be afraid of, even though I think Bacchus Crystal is enough of a blocker to push me away from Music Lightaway. I think Ben's Teddy should be vying for favouritism for the final. I think the 5-1 is absolutely monstrous. I had to take a chunk on it on Sunday morning when I saw the prices. I couldn't believe it.
So, Ben's Teddy to beat.
Ben's Teddy to beat Bacchus Crystal and Music Lightaway.
Bacchus Crystal and Music Lightaway. So you're going 3, 5, 6, and Sarah, you were 1, 4, 3. Am I right?
Look,
Yes.
Go ahead. I didn't go the other way around, so it would have been a 365. Geez, don't tell me what we're doing. You the other 3. That's good. We have the 6 dogs covered. Right,
and
come on now.
How people's opinions differ.
It's interesting that both of you have given your 1, 2, 3,
yeah.
and none of you have given the other Kobe to be in the frame, the favourite. I have thoughts on the Derby market and obviously the Derby final. The Derby market, I think Ben's Teddy will be the Shelburne Aston type runner on the night, where Shelburne Aston was introduced at 5 or 6-1 after the Derby draw, and I think he went off favourite. I would not be surprised if Ben's Teddy went off favourite. I tend to agree with you there. I also thought the monstrous value was with Bacchus Crystal. I think she is a major, major chance. And she will be my selection, Bacchus Crystal. I think she's coming forward week on week. She can flash. There is a chance that 1 and 2 will get in each other's way. The thing about Ben's Teddy, he could slip in behind them, lovely, get a nice run, but they're not going to be moving off the fence too much. If one of them is sent backwards, the odds are Ben's Teddy's going to be there. So he's going to have to get around them, or because I don't think he's going to get up inside them. That's going to need to happen, at a point where he can get around them. I think there's a strong chance that Bacchus Crystal turns the corner in front. The other night she came away a little bit behind the other Kobe. He got that immediate acceleration on her, but he's a length and a bit up on her. And at the corner, she is right on him. Like her nuzzles to his ear, like they're really there. They're close. So I just wouldn't be surprised if she took a flasher from trap 5, and same box that Linson Bocco won for Bevan and Graham, and there's a strong chance they'll win again from trap 5, Bacchus Crystal. I just think she's going to be 17 weeks. She's going to be absolutely perfect in terms of dates. She's strengthening up every week. If she produces one of her sharp starts, and she hasn't really produced one of her very best starts since probably the opening round, when they were really concerned that she'd be fading home. And in fairness, she did fade home, but she still held on in 29.58. I think she's probably 5 or 6 lengths stronger now. I think there's a 29.20 run in her. I think 29.40 will win this Derby final. But I think there is a 29.20 run in her. And I'm hoping she produces it, because like you, Tommy, I saw the prices on Sunday morning and I had a little nibble. I just thought I got a bit of 7 to 1. She's, I think, best price 6s at the moment, but generally around 5. I still think that's probably a bit big. But I agree with you in a sense where I think Well Met will need to drift to get to attract support. The other Kobe, I think 5 to 2 is probably around his price, because if he does hit the lids and clear trap 1 early, well, he's a major player. Ben's Teddy, though, I think is certainly too big. Music Glideaway is the one that's difficult to price, because it's nearly a related price. Like he's 6 to 4 to start trap like he did the other night, and then he's still a 3 to 1 chance. So could you double the 6 to 4 to 3 to 1? That's the question, Like he's 3 to 1 off a start. Do you know what I mean? And he's only 6 to 4 to make that start. So I think that has to be incorporated in. I think he's probably a 4-9 to 2 chance. Yeah, in my own mind. But I think it's a wide open final. But as I've said, my pin has fallen on Bacchus Crystal. But would there be a surprising winner? Not really. 365 would be the surprising winner. But after that, I think the strong claims could be made for the remainder. But yeah, my pin has fallen on Bacchus Crystal. I will probably go Bacchus Crystal beat Ben's Teddy, and for third it'll be either Kobe or Music Glideaway. I haven't fully decided. That'll be decided when my fingers are hovering over the keys as I do the form guide in about 6 hours from now. No, but listen, it's a cracking Derby final. We really look forward to it. And while there have been Derby finals where we've had red hot favourites and like a real superstar, these are all stars in their own rights, and I think we'll have a tremendous Derby winner. Albeit it's a very different Derby final because it's so competitive. This is one of those races where you could probably go 3 to 1 the field and expect to get support for 4 dogs in the race. You know what I mean? I'd hope that the bookmakers will take a chance, and I'd say they're already betting to 115, Sarah. I would say Saturday morning you'll be able to get to 110. If you go around best prices, you probably even get less than that. So, plenty of value out there, Tommy. Plenty of value out there, Sarah. There
is. And it's interesting listening to you talking as well, because like that Well Met could drift, the other Kobe could drift, because even listening to the both of you aren't very confident on him, and he's the 2 to 1 favourite, and usually people always have a big case to make again a favourite in a final. So let's say, for argument's sake, Well Met drifts, the other Kobe drifts. Well Met goes out to 5, the other Kobe goes out to 3s, maybe 7 to 2, something like that. Ben's Teddy could become the new 2 to 1 favourite. 365 could go out to 50s. Bacchus Crystal probably go 4s, and Music Glideaway stay the same. So I don't know, Ian, you're good with percentage, what the book would be then, but like Ben's Teddy is capable of a fast start, isn't he? Like he is capable of leading against these.
No, he's capable of leading for the first 20 strides. But the issue then is where is he at the corner? I'd sooner he missed it a little bit and slipped in behind them, rather than take a flyer and then is sort of watching himself into the corner because he's dogs on his flanks who are absolutely motoring. But there is an argument to suggest he could certainly lead in the first few strides, because we saw him trapping as well as he did on August 5th. That was in the second round, like second or third round. He led up on the offense. It was actually the following night, wasn't it? he popped out, but he couldn't hold his pitch, and they ran by him into the corner, but he was able to turn closer than normal, and he emerged a good winner on that occasion. So yeah, there are claims that he could be turned a bit closer than we were probably giving him credit for, but in a Derby final, you just need things to go right.
He does need things to go right, but he's in phenomenal form. Like he's in the type of form that he'd do a huge run. Bacchus Crystal is a funny one because I would have said like before the Derby final. I know she was in season on it, but I would have said before the Derby final, like she's a brilliant bitch, but she's thoroughly exposed in the sense that in the past when she'd come up against Greyhound or against dogs, she had struggled a bit. But and I would have thought, geez, where's she going to find the little extras? But there she is in the final, and you're making a strong case for her. I mean, it's just funny the way again, as I said to you, and this is the important point. You can think all you like in an anti-post, but the mindset changes completely when it's a one-off race. You're looking at a different type of thing. In anti-post, you're looking for qualifier. Hope and generally what you look is get out in front and get out of trouble. Like the other Kobe, even though you and I Ian, don't really fancy it, and we think it should drift a bit. Like it's the most likely leader in the race, so it has an obvious chance.
I don't think I don't think the term not fancying it is right in this situation. I think I've been dictated by prices rather than the actual form on this situation, because I think the other Kobe gets to a price where I go, well, that's too big. Do you know that sort of way? I think 3 is probably too big.
Every bit of my betting is that way. Every single bit of my betting and the thought process is based on what the price is. I mean, if you want to offer me 10-1 Bacchus Crystal, I want to back it. Like, you know what I mean? Or I don't.
I'll have a few quid at that if you want to offer.
Yeah, we'll book. Sarah said Boyle to give us
double the prices anytime you want.
I actually personally don't think Bacchus Crystal will win the Derby final. I think she'll run a cracking race. But I'm not sure where you're getting the 29.20 from. I'm not sure. Maybe it's there. I don't know.
Listen, the fact of the matter
I'm thinking 29.50 if she wins.
She's doing 29. She's done 29.45 in this Derby. 15 weeks out of the season. I think there's definitely 2 or 3 lengths in there. She has an 18.49 sprint trial. She's 32.07 for 600 yards. Probably top 6 fastest times ever done at Shelburne Park for 600 yards. So she can do an 18.40 sprint. She can do a 32.07 600, and I don't think we've seen her ever produce her very best over 550 yards. And I think the fact that Ben's Teddy and 365 are on her immediate inside, and then the 2 on the inside of them are not going to be moving off the fence and could potentially get in each other's way. I think there's every chance she goes around in front. We saw her digging in the night she beat the likes of Coulivanny Hoffa and Bobsleigh Dream. Like, she's very plucky on the bunny, and I just think she could be hard to pass, and certainly the season dates are working in her favour.
Yeah, they are, but there's generally a reason why they don't. She hasn't produced a big time over 550, because she mightn't necessarily lead at this level, and she has had limited opportunities because she'll be running over further. And of course, the 18.49 is a solo. I just wonder, like. I'm sure she could do 29.20 in a trial, probably. I'm not saying it's a certainty, probably, but like it's a different thing when you have to do it in a race, and especially in the Derby final.
Yeah, well, she's like 30.80 for the 570 around Cork. Like, she's 29.48 last year.
Who were the 5 greyhounds she was up against that night? And it's a longer trip to run to the bend and everything else. Like, there's a lot of different things factors involved. No, hey, I'm only being spiky here, just if I could just to kind of to so you can tease it out for people to understand why you think it.
We fully expect you to be spiky at all times, Tommy. That's fine. That's what people tune in for. We want spiky Tommy. Spiky Tommy. What time wins the Derby, Tommy?
29, between 29:35 and 45.
Yeah, I agree with Tommy. Yeah.
Okay. I think they've all proven that they could do that clock. Slowest time of the 6 finalists is the 29.47 from 365. That's her career best for the 550-yard trip. So they're all capable of doing the time. It's just about getting out and doing your run. But the very best of luck to all 6 finalists. It's a Derby final to look forward to, and it should be a great centrepiece on Saturday night at a packed Shelburne Park. Also in Shelburne Park on Saturday night will be the final of the Michael Fortune Memorial Derby Place. And while things didn't really go to plan in the quarterfinals, Sarah, there was it was no real surprise either winner. Balnabola Una was a decent enough price, but she's returned 4-1, so there was certainly support for her. I was one of those supporting her the other evening. It was pretty much early. It was over from the early stages when she turned as close as she did in second to Ballymacpeach. She was always going to be too strong. She's a real powerhouse. She's a bitch that'll stay further.
Yeah, she's I must admit I didn't know much about her coming into the overall Shelbourne Park in the Derby when she didn't qualify. Was she get knocked out in the first or second round? I can't even remember. I think it was. How did she?
She was last. She was last in the opening round. She got impeded at the opening.
Yeah, Jotaro. I have it here. Yeah, quick away impeded at the first 16-1 shot. Yeah, like I didn't know much about her. I'll be honest. But the way she ran the other night, and we were doing the draw, and Pat Buckley and everyone down. I even though most of the time I'm doing these draws on live TV, when you're in the kennels doing the Michael Fortune Memorial Plate and the trainers are standing there looking at you, I feel more pressure when they're there looking at you when it's live TV.
It's a draw, Sarah. I don't think anyone's going to give out when you pull out.
They do, trust me. They
in jest.
Yeah, it wouldn't be given out. It'd be more like having the crack with you. But when I pulled her in, she's in trap one in the final. Like, she's got a tremendous. She ran brilliant. But the position that she was in to go on and win by 4 lengths is something else. Do you know what I mean? She just powered home. It was very easy on the eye. She did it so comfortably. 29.61. I think what Damien has priced her up at 2-1. She's not even the favourite actually. I think she's terrific trap draw, and I think she'll be hard to beat. Yeah.
Ballymacpeach was second. She's relatively exposed for, she's on March 21, of course. She's 2.5 years of age, but that was her 33rd start the other night. But she seems to be really very much in the peak of her powers at present. She's going up strongly. She obviously couldn't contain Balnabola Una the other night, but not to be sniffed at. Neon Lights running on strongly back in third spot. He probably wants a bit further. Tommy, Balnabola Una, she's certainly the type I'd like to own. You know me. Like, the steak is named after my father. Like, he'd have loved this lady. He just loves big, strong, powerful, sort of big finishing ladies.
Yeah, I was fierce impressed at her the other night. I thought it was a terrific run. Good to see also that there are 6 different sires in the final. In the plate final, there's 3 sires in the final of the Derby. There's three Droopy Sydney, 2 Ballymac Bests, and a new in Taylor. There's six different sires in the final of the Michael Fortune Memorial. So we could
potentially break the record. Have a sire, a Derby winning sire, a Derby winner, shall we say? New in Taylor hasn't been done since the 60s. It's something we've touched upon a couple of times through the competition. Yeah, 6 different sires in the final of the Michael Fortune Memorial plate. Balnabola Una will run from 1 in the final. Ballymacpeach in 3, and the other qualifier, Neon Lights, facing a tricky draw out in trap 5. The second semi-final, Tommy, Beeper's Lariat, where he looked leg weary. I thought the previous round. I thought maybe a long campaign was sort of getting to him. This was a rejuvenated Beeper's Lariat and won very well in 29.50. I thought it was a hell of a run.
This is a back to best form, yeah. And like, we know what he's like. He's teak tough when he's on the money. And like, it was a surprise, I think, the previous week that he had been picked up. And so just very encouraging. And I know he's a tricky draw in the final, but I think there's probably a bit more to come too. Even though you said he's been busy, he's only had 18 runs. Probably a few in England as well. He hasn't had that many runs. It's not that he couldn't improve slightly. It's when they produce what is a career best at this stage. Who's to say there isn't a little bit more to come?
What I liked was the fact that the Bull Freddy did pop out. He can go to a corner, and Beeper's Lariat just shot up his inside. Like, he sort of left him standing, Tommy.
Yeah, he did. I honest to God, it was a really likable performance. I do kind of feel sorry for him looking at the draw, but then maybe I feel more sorry for Ballymacpeach with a 62-pounder in beside an 80-pound dog in the final. I might be a little bit more sorry for her.
Yeah, I'm sure the 80-pound dog in 4 would be able to handle himself.
Yeah.
Sarah Blastoff Mac has been running very well for Philip Buckley after finally doubling his account in the previous round. He ran well in second spot. He's in a similar position than the previous week, but this time couldn't pick up Beeper's Lariat. But when you look at the clocks, it's sort of no surprise he couldn't pick him up.
Yeah, look, I agree with you and what you're saying about Beeper's Lariat, and that's why I went against him. I actually tipped up 6. I regret it now, but look, that's the way it goes. Beeper's Lariat, the fact that he's only ever ran from trap 4, I think, in Limerick. Now, he has won from trap 4 down in Limerick, but he hasn't raced from trap 4 in Shelbourne. Is that a concern? I don't know. He's the 11-8 favourite to win. Do I fancy him? No, but he ran absolutely insane the other night. He took every bit of advantage of his trap draw, and that's what just concerns me, the fact that he's out in four. But look, we haven't really seen a lot of him. Like, okay, he ran in Limerick. I think he was third on the night of the Kirby final in a supporting card. He then went up Toaster. He done a massive run over in Toaster in one of the earlier rounds. Really caught the eye. Came back, has a few runs in Shelburne. Is consistent enough, but I'm just a little bit concerned about his trap draw on Saturday night. But I do love this competition. We renamed this, actually. My first year in Boyles was the year we renamed this the Michael Fortune Memorial Derby Plate. And as you mentioned, your dad probably would fall in love with Ballinabula. Una, my dad's a massive fan of her as well. And we were only chatting about that yesterday. You know, when your dad and my dad used to have their sneaky pints in Harold's Cross, and they'd have the crack, and like, there's lovely memories attached to it as well. But look, I just think based on the trap, like Blast Off Mac, yeah, not to take away from that either. But when you said about the Beau Freddy, if he hadn't have done the performance that he did the week before, you wouldn't have rated him at all going into that. So you would expect Beeper's Lariat to be beating the likes of them and leading them up. Do you know what I mean? So not to take away from any of them, but based on trap draw and everything, I am going to stick with Ballinabula. Una, she probably won't lead in, but I just think she has the pace. She'll come from behind. Beeper's Lariat was picked up easy enough the week previous. So yeah, she's my pick. That's the one I'm going for.
Pied Piper was the third qualifier there for Maurice Heffernan. He doesn't win very often, but he's like his dam. He runs at a high level. Her name is higher level. He's a nice dog. He's just plenty of pace and power, but probably just doesn't do enough early, and that's why he doesn't win as many races as he should. But no question, he can run okay in the final. He'll be a big price, albeit. Yeah, I think Beeper's Lariat, I wouldn't be too concerned by the draw. There's not an awful lot of early speed in the contest. The issue for Beeper's Lariat is that the early speed is just immediately on his inside in Ballymac Pete. But as Tommy alluded to, 80-pound dog against a 62-pound bitch.
Yeah.
I'm sure he can handle himself, and I don't think Ballymac Pete will be stepping into his road. I think Beeper's Lariat can overcome it, but I do believe from the draw that Ballinabula Una will get a very clear passage. I do make it very much a two-dog affair between Ballinabula Una and Beeper's Lariat. Haven't fully decided where I'll sort of stick the pin. Maybe Ballinabula Una from the draw, but I think it's a bit of a toss of a coin, and I can see why the two of them dominate the betting market. Tommy, what would your selection be?
I'm going with Ballinabula. I thought she was very impressive the last day. Beeper's Lariat is interesting because obviously he's an 80-pounder and he doesn't flash from traps, but he has a lovely pace in the wind. That could be in Carnage. So I think the draw very much favours Ballinabula, so I think she'll win.
Yeah. No, good contest. Looking forward to that one. There was some good racing on the undercard. Just want to mention that the 750-yard contest went to Hanover Phantom. It was great to see him winning in really top company over 750 yards. He was the Corncucullen runner-up. He was a big price in the Corncucullen. Wasn't as big a price the other evening, but had to run well to score. Ballymac Katie, such an eye-catcher in the feet. She absolutely rocketed home. And I would suggest that Liam Dowling and Shane Dowling may be getting the ferry in the future with this lady. I'd say she's tailor-made for another crack at a TV trophy, perhaps in the UK. They had won it in the past, of course, with Ballymac Bonnie. Some nice performances elsewhere on the undercard. We look forward to what should be an unbelievable undercard at Shelburne Park on Saturday night. Elsewhere, folks, we had the Casco Derby down at Curraheen Park, Tommy, and Jack Tavern Bolt setting the standard once again.
Yeah, fabulous display. A different grade altogether type of display. Even when I watched the race, I was going, "Whoa, what was that sectional?" 325. It even looked even quicker than that to me, to be honest about it. He's going very much in the right direction.
The campaign has sort of made up his mind for him. Obviously, he's a brother to Ballinakillalf, who will be, you'd imagine, favoured or close to it for Juvenile Derby success. They've clearly decided to go on the laurels route with Jack Tavern Bolt because at this stage he's in the semi-finals of the Casco Derby, a day after the opening round of Juvenile Derby. So that rules out the Juvenile Derby for him. But you could see him developing into a Laurels type greyhound, Tommy. He certainly has the early speed. The issue with him has often been trapping.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm looking here, right? And obviously things will quicken a little bit when the Laurels comes around in a few weeks' time, right? I think the draw is on Monday week. 331, 331, 325. They're pretty good. The 325 is very good, but the 331s, if we're saying he's not trapping, they're good at the moment, and he's going in the right direction. So if it comes in a couple of weeks' time and he's able to consistently do sub 330, he's a player. because of the improvement in him. He'll break 28 seconds some night on the trajectory he's on at the moment. He definitely will, if you ask me.
Big excitement as regards the Laurels.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, Jimmy Barry Murphy turned up last night in Youghal, and he was just chatting to me and saying, we'll try to get plenty of a push in the media for the Laurels, because it is fantastic. And Barney O'Hare and Bar One have got involved with the friends and supporters of Curraheen Park. So it will be a great Laurels.
Yeah, look forward to that. The other heats were won by Barton Droopy 28-39, 28-71 Dashgrove Bulger, and the slowest of the 4 heat winners was Rebel Ocean. But there's lots of racing left in that Casco Derby. If you do get a chance to get to Curraheen Park over the next week or two, it's well worth the journey for that competition. Down in Waterford, we had the opening round of the Munster Oaks, and the 2 Glengars coming out on top for Pat Buckley, Glengar Martha, and Glengar, what's the other one? Oh, this is great. This is great podcasting. This is Glengar Martha and Glengar Bridie, both winning and well. New in Nifty did 28.57, and Easy Razzle did 28.57. I still think we'll see plenty more from Easy Razzle throughout the year. Again, she's another one, just has to find that first 5 strides, get it right, and she could be anything. Just worth mentioning on the undercard there, or well, standing in its own right, was the Casey's Camping and Caravan Park Open on Race Stake. It produced some nice dogs last year, and it looks like John Kennedy has a nice one in this year's competition. Epic Chick, a bitch, a daughter of Grange U10 out of JT Osprey, who herself was a very, very talented tracker back in the day, did 28.18 on debut, winning at odds of 2-1 on. 28-18, winning 13 lengths. That 2-1 on looks like a bit of value. There was also a track record done at Limerick. Chestnut King in one of the graded 600-yard competition. A very versatile tracker, some winning form over all sorts of distances, including 6 bends. Good to see a track record going down 32-14. A brilliant run at Limerick for the 600 yards. Sarah, you like myself would have been seeing the action from y'all last night via social media. Seemed like a big crowd. Anyone around here we could talk to about that?
Oh, we should give. We'll be FaceTiming Barry Drake.
We could, or else we could talk to Tommy Lyons, who was emceeing proceedings at Youghal on Monday night. By all accounts, Tommy, looked like a great night.
It was fabulous. It's funny, but I arrived on track about 4:30, Barry, and I arrived out early, and there were a few people already around just trying to final preparations for it. And even until the crowd comes in, you'd be nervous to say there's so much work going on behind the scenes. Would people turn up? And by the end of the night, it was a huge crowd. I think there were 700 cards. They were all sold, and then and not everybody, as you know, would be buying cards. There were piles of kids because there was plenty there for them. It was definitely up. It's definitely up towards 2,000 anyway. Definitely up close to that figure. I couldn't believe it. I actually thought when somebody suggested there'd be 1,000 there, I thought, you're kidding. If we get 400 or 500, we'd be very happy. Like, it was absolutely huge, more than we could have expected. But it just goes to show you, if you're willing to put in time and the effort, and there were a lot of things involved. There was a club draw, there was a raffle, there was a best dressed lady, there was and they had the lotto jackpot, which is 20,000 at the moment. So there was a lot of things tied in together to help make it a great night. It was just the effort from the entire Youghal Track Supporters Club, and what they've done to the track itself, actually in tidying it up, and just lots of things have been done around the track over the last number of months. It got the crowd that it very much deserved, and that doesn't mean that you'll always get it. And right up until I'd say 6:05, the first race, we were quite nervous, but by 7 o'clock, the place was absolutely jammed. I had been walking over to Barry, where he commentates. It's only about 10 yards from where I was emceeing, and I had been doing that for the first few races, and I had to stop because trying to get back out taking too long. That's how big a crowd it was. It was fabulous, absolutely fabulous night.
No, great to hear. It's a bit like Field of Dreams. You build it, they will come.
Yeah.
You put a big night on, and we've spoken about this before. You put on a big night at certainly one of the local tracks like that, and if you're getting the support of the community, well, you have to do it regularly enough. You get them in. There should be 1, 2, 3 nights like that every year at every single track. It's great to see. Sarah, next year we might have to venture down.
Yeah, you never know. Please God. Also, it's worth mentioning. You're probably going to touch on it anyway, Ian. Sorry if you are. Clona Duke winning the select stakes for Graham Holland. That was an unbelievable performance. Dad and I were watching it at home.
I have to watch it back this morning. I was watching it like that last night at
Oh,
the
why
bar
did you
counter.
get back?
At the
Oh, you
bar
were on
counter.
6.
At the bar counter in Mulligan's. No, I actually touched the two of them. couldn't see any other dog in the contest winning. As it was Clonadduke that got first run. It was over pretty much early. Now the 4 dog did run a big race, but no, Clonadduke is like we've said it numerous times here, it really is a tremendous greyhound.
Ah, yeah, terrific. Like, but you know, it's very impressive for these dogs and for the trainer and all involved to go from different tracks and to perform to that level. Like, you know, they have to. I'm not saying they're like horses that you go all the way over to Australia and you have to climatize. Like, I'm not being dramatic about it, but it is a big thing to do. You know, the traveling alone can tire them out. The different surroundings. It's just impressive. I really admire people that do, and they go over and take on these big competitions. I'm sure the English don't really like it too much because we're winning everything around us. But also Bobsleigh Dream ran terrific. What a bitch. Yeah. My God, she's a cracker.
I thought she'd win a bit further. I think she just got you know what? I'm all right here. I've won. It was an awful lot tighter. I can barely remember that too, but I remember having the old heart flutters up the home straight. But yeah, Bobsleigh Dream winning. Fair play to them both. I'll have to watch them back now this morning before I do my report. But no, great to see them winning. And of course, Graham Holland now with a select stakes under the bag after his English Derby success. He is chasing a top 6 finish in the UK in the Trainers' Championship. Wow. If Graham Holland gets into those top 6, Tommy, given his kennel strength, I'm not sure the likes of Mark Wallace and the boys will be too happy if he rocks up with his full team for a Trainer Championship night.
No, but from my point of view and from our point of view, I would love to see more greyhounds come across from the UK to compete in the bigger stakes in Ireland. I'd love it because you want to see the best. It doesn't matter. To me, I don't mind who trains or who owns the best of the greyhounds. I just want to see them, and I want to see them on our tracks. And I'm sure to some degree, okay, they mightn't like, the trainers themselves mightn't like it being taken away, the money involved or whatever. But I'm sure they love to see the best of the greyhound racing too, because it's quite a small community nowadays.
You'd have to imagine after the success last year at the Winter Racing Festival, you know, Patrick Janssen and Diane Henry both winning races, that a few more will take it on this year. You'd like to see them coming over for a few more of the competitions, but you know, if they want to come over for the Winter Racing Festival, they're more than welcome. You know, if they've earned their place, they can take it. If they haven't earned their place, and that's the issue, there are some exceptional greyhounds around over all distances. If we feel that they're amongst the top 6, well, they'll get in and welcome them with open arms. But no, that's a great way to finish off the select stakes going to Clonadduke. Well done. And well done, Ireland. Well done, Team Holland. Clonadduke, brilliant runner. As Sarah said, he's taken to all tracks. You know, he's starred at Limerick, Shelburne Park, Toaster, and now Nottingham. You know, he's a credit to his connections, and I'm sure he's not done with yet. Perhaps we will see the likes of Balnabola Ed, Clonadduke, and who knows, maybe Jack Tavern Bella and Bobsleigh Dream in action at Shelburne Park on Saturday night. I wouldn't say the trip across to Nottingham would have done any harm for Bobsleigh Dream. I'm sure she'll come back full of vigor and life and ready to run a race on Saturday night at Shelburne. We'll see the card. Well, by the time you're watching this, I believe the Derby card will already be out. We look forward to it greatly. So again, Tommy, you fancy Ben's Teddy to win the Derby?
You do. Look at just as I'm saying, I can't make a case for a few of them. I don't fancy a few of them. Doesn't mean they can't win, of course. I was wrong once before. But I do fancy Ben's Teddy. I think the price is just the ones, was it? Just the ones. That was when I thought I was wrong.
We had a great greyhound called Just the Ones.
I just I fancy the price of Ben's Teddy too big, and if he gets a run, and of course that's an if because he's a slow starting greyhound. If he gets a run, he will win.
Yeah, Sarah, you are with Well Met.
I'm with Well Met and the Joneses camp. But of course, naturally, I wish everyone the very, very best to look in the final. This has been a very, it's been an emotional derby to say the least, but I've enjoyed every second of it. Hope everyone is happy with the draws I've given throughout the derby. But you know what? Like, I think this is one of the best finals we could ask for. We didn't predict it, and I have to pick one, and I love them all, but I mean, you have to put your pin in one, and it's going to be Well Met. But I wouldn't be surprised, Ian, if 365 won. That's just the type of final that it is. But yeah, the very, very best of luck to everybody. You deserve to be there, and hopefully that'll happen to me one day, and to all of us, to the three of us, we'll have a finalist in the derby. I tell you, there wouldn't be a cow milked in Rollerstown if I won the derby. Put it that way.
Yeah. Do you get the impression, Tommy, that Sarah's suggesting she does a bit of work every now and again?
If there was work in the bed, you'd sleep on the floor.
I'd glossed over it, I'd glossed over it.
Right. I apologized yesterday to all 6 sets of connections because I said I can only tip one, and I said I apologize to you in case I do tip your dog because I haven't tipped the winner of the Derby since Lenz and Bach go back in 2019. And I will be tipping the same ownership. Bach goes Crystal in the final, but again, the very best of luck to all 6, and may they all come home safe and sound. It's been a wonderful Derby. Just one more race left, 29.5 seconds. That's going to decide the fate, but that's it from us on Talking Dogs. My thanks again to Tommy Lyons, the Exile Dub, and of course Sarah Kinsella. She's not an Exile Dub, she's very much a Dub. She's still here with us, but that's it from us on this Tuesday evening. We will see you next Monday when we will be reflecting on what is surely going to be a wonderful BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby decider. Again, the very best of luck to anyone with the connection in the final. But that's it from us this evening. Good evening, good luck, God bless. Well, we are just days away from the final of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby at Shelbourne Park. Tickets are selling fast. We would recommend, however, that if you are going on Saturday night, to buy your tickets in advance just to avoid queues on the night. They can be bought at Shelbourne Park Greyhound Stadium.ie. Make sure you get your tickets before then. Also, if you are driving to Shelbourne Park, I'm afraid there will be no parking facilities in Shelbourne, but there will be a park and ride facility from Clanagale Fontenoy's ground just there on the Strand around the corner from Shelbourne Park. So stick it into your Google Maps, but there will be details on Talking Dogs. Again, we'll see you Saturday night.